not using the chat, we didn't want it to get overwhelming with the same questions being repeated 100 times. What we're going to utilize instead is the Q&A feature. That way, if you see that somebody has already posted a question, you can upvote the question, but it also allows us to collect up all of the questions that people have across the 4 sessions that we've done today about the LMS, and then we can compile and send everybody responses to those questions instead of having to get bogged down into the chat responding to everything. So if you're not familiar with Q&A, if you take a look at your toolbar here in Google Meet, you're going to find an icon that looks like 3 shapes. It's a triangle, a square, and a circle. And when you pop that up on the screen, one of your options will be Q&A. When you open that, you'll see that Kate Miller's already posted a question. You'll see that Jennifer Yerke posted one. You'll see Paige Supko posted one. She may have already cleared hers. So you'll have the ability to upvote people's questions if you click the little thumbs up. If it's similar and you have the same question, if your question is answered at some point during the presentation, you can click the trash can to delete your question, but we're going to utilize the Q&A because it'll help us compile responses for everybody afterwards. So thank you guys so much for attending our LMS information session. We are excited to provide you the chance to preview the LMS that was presented to the Board of Education for consideration. And I already talked about the Q&A, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to our second slide. All right. The process of evaluating a new LMS. During Dr. Bedell's listening and learning tours, stakeholder feedback indicated the desire to reevaluate our learning management system and explore some alternative options. I'm going to leave this slide up for just a minute so that you guys can take a look, read, but it's not my intention to read everything to you. So I'm just going to leave this up for a minute. All right, and moving on. Before the evaluation process could begin, it was important for AACPS to determine our vision for an LMS. The LMS evaluation team categories that were evaluated: functional requirement, technical requirements, and vendor demos. During the sandbox phase, tasks performed in Canvas were most often ranked the easiest to complete. The priorities established by the strategic plan were a driving factor throughout the evaluation and selection process. Upon approval, the LMS Transition Steering Committee will guide the system through all facets of the process. The work will be organized into 7 focus areas that will move in lockstep for a seamless transition. Each focus area will be guided by subject matter experts with the support of work groups that will include stakeholders like yourselves. A detailed professional development plan will be created by the steering committee in collaboration with experienced staff from our potential partner. A detailed communication and support plan will be created by the steering committee in collaboration with experienced staff from our potential vendor partner. Upon approval, this is the timeline that will be followed to ensure a successful implementation by August of 2025. All right, so now that you've had an overview of where we are, we want to give you the opportunity to see firsthand how Canvas could help improve, could provide an improved user experience through navigation, collaboration, and feedback. And to give us a peek into the system, I'd like to introduce you to our potential vendor partners. We have from Canvas today, Jamie and Kevin, and I'm going to turn everything over to them. I want to remind you guys to utilize the Q&A with any questions that you have, and then we'll compile those and send that information to everybody after we wrap up. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to Jamie and Kevin.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, everyone. It is an extreme honor to sit here in front of you today and get to share Canvas with you. My name's Kevin, and I am your regional director over Maryland, and Jamie's going to help with a lot of our presentation today as well. Jamie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie, and I work alongside Kevin to support the state of Maryland. And really, my role, I sit at the intersection of the tools that we offer, so Canvas, as well as the background in classroom instruction. So before coming to Instructure, I was a teacher and an administrator. So I likely sat on a team like this, really helping support teachers and championing the use of technology and change. So really glad to be here with you all and give you a sneak peek of Canvas.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. I'm taking over the presentation, and I'll have a couple slides, and then Jamie will take over with a live software demo. Our goal today really is to give you all a sneak peek of Canvas and get everyone on this call today hopefully excited about our potential new partnership for next school year. I also want to, come to this call and not only represent how excited Instructure is for this partnership, but also give you all confidence that we are realistic when it comes to implementing a large system like Anne Arundel, and we understand that it will be a lot of work, but we are going to bring the very best of Instructure and lots of our resources to the table to give you all, hopefully a really smooth experience as you transition from Brightspace to Canvas potentially. And we'll also say that the central office so far, in working with your team, like you guys have an amazing team that have put together a wonderful plan and done a really good job, for example, with the steering committee work groups that were designed. And I just hope if you're sitting here on today's call with a little trepidation, that you can have some reassurance that a lot of diligence and a lot of work has gone into this initiative, and we're really excited to bring our very best for a potential partnership and implementation. So to give more of the meat and potatoes of our agenda today, I'll walk through a few slides to do an introduction to Instructure and who we are as a company. Then Jamie will actually click through Canvas, the software, in a demonstration. We've called out a couple different areas in the bullet points below to walk you through our video management solution called Studio, and to walk you through our gradebook. These are a couple areas that we believe will be some really fun time-saving upgrades from your current LMS experience. And then we're going to show you parity from Brightspace to Canvas in terms of how do you copy materials and how is that done in Canvas? How do you merge courses if you teach multiple French 3s? And then how do you do things like block editor and create engaging content in Canvas? We're really excited to show you some parity between those areas, between Brightspace and Canvas. And then finally, like Tracy mentioned, please put any questions in the chat. We'll do our best to record those and answer those either live or future. But to give you some background on Instructure, so we were founded in 2009. We're based out of Salt Lake City. And in the past 15 years, we've slowly grown to become the most used LMS in all of K-12. That's by any metric. That's the most amount of students and users on the system. That's the most amount of K-12 school districts that use Canvas, and we're certainly popular and ubiquitous throughout Maryland as well. So the Maryland State Department of Education uses Canvas. In fact, every teacher in Maryland has access to a Canvas account through that agreement already. We also partner with Baltimore City, Charles County, Howard, Prince George's, Harford, and Montgomery County in Maryland as well. And then exploring our footprint in higher ed, we're also the most used LMS in higher ed. Notably, Anne Arundel Community College is one of our partners in your area. So, as far as from a student perspective, if they attend one of these colleges or do dual enrollment through AACC, there could certainly be some advantages if they're familiar with and using Canvas in advance. One of the reasons why we believe Canvas has grown to become one of the most widely used LMSs is simply because of our focus on integration. And one of our biggest integrations in EdTech is with PowerSchool. So PowerSchool obviously, was highlighted as an extremely important system for Anne Arundel. And we do have a integration with PowerSchool where, as a teacher, all of your courses from PowerSchool can automatically roster into Canvas. And then all of the grades can send from Canvas into PowerSchool. The grade passback, what that looks like in more detail is it's what we call an assignment level grade passback. So you'd have to map, at the beginning of each semester, you map your grade categories from PowerSchool to Canvas, then the assignment grade will push from Canvas to PowerSchool. The final grade does not push, however, that's still calculated in PowerTeacher Pro. And, we'd recommend you still use PowerSchool. Basically, it's the gradebook of record. But hopefully that grade passback is a huge time saver for you all. And then this integration, this isn't something that, this integration has existed for a really long time. There's hundreds of districts that use it. Houston, Texas, Hamilton in Tennessee, that's Chattanooga, Tennessee, the entire state of North Carolina all use this integration. So it's, tried and true and used by many large school districts at the same scale as Anne Arundel is as well. Beyond just our PowerSchool integration, there's a lot of other integrations that I'm excited for you all to take advantage of. Canvas, in fact, has more integrations than any other LMS out there today. We have over 900 EdTech partners that have some sort of LTI integration with Canvas. And clicking into specifics for Anne Arundel, you all were very kind to provide a list of all of the LTI and curriculum tools that are used today at Anne Arundel. And the good news is, we integrate with all the tools here on the screen, except for Thunkable in red. So we have existing integrations with all these tools. So as it pertains to, the slides that were presented to your board last week and the slides that Tracy just presented, having one door for your students to basically log into and access all of their digital learning from, that's certainly the experience that Canvas can provide and the experience that we're really excited to partner with you all on. So I'll stop my screen share there. And from here, Jamie will be taking over the presentation to actually click through Canvas. I wanted to highlight some of those integration pieces because, frankly, we don't have like a PowerSchool account. We can't actually like demo some of those integrations live, but Jamie's prepared a demonstration here from a couple different perspectives. And yeah, if you want to take over, Jamie, the floor is yours.
Sure. That sounds great, Kevin. Well, really, as you said, we'll look at Canvas as a sneak peek from a couple of different perspectives. The first being your end users as students. So we'll see what students would see in Canvas or could experience. Then we'll back up a level and look at Canvas from the teacher side and some of the tools that would be available, as well as talk about additional options around Canvas use at the elementary level, as well as options with Canvas for mobile apps. So with that, we'll begin with the student experience that you see on the screen here. And we'll walk you through what you're first seeing upon logging in. So the first thing that I see is my dashboard in Canvas as a student. And on my dashboard, I would see any of the classes that I'm enrolled in PowerSchool. So with that integration, it will automatically roster your students, so they would see any of their classes here. On the right-hand side of the screen, I see a to-do list. So anything that I may need to turn in or complete will show up automatically from any of my classes, as well as being able to put my own items on the to-do list. I also can see if I have any recent feedback from my teachers, so that would show up here as well. But one other item I wanted to point out, the gray bar across the left-hand side of the screen that you see, this is called the global navigation. Students also have access to a calendar, and actually all users have access to a calendar. But for students, they can see what they have coming up, and they can click right into those assignments from the calendar. So for the purpose of today's demonstration to kind of be middle of the road as far as content and grade level, we're going to use a physical science class to dive into. But again, as I mentioned, we'll talk about the elementary experience at the end of today's presentation. So as a student, when I click into my physical science class, I come to my home page, and a couple of things that I want to point out before we dive into the content is I now have a to-do list that's drilled down to just this particular class. So my dashboard is everything. Then once I go into a specific course, I can see this class's to-do list assignments. I can see any announcements from my teacher. And really the actual environment that I'm in for my class is very simple. My teachers only customize this to be the things that I need to access. You'll notice I have a simple menu list, and maybe every time I come into this class, I start at this week's work. That's my first thing to do. So when I do that, I come into the first item within a unit, and we'll go through a few different elements that you may include in a course for your students, but definitely this first one being a Canvas page. So on a Canvas page, this is really where you're organizing and providing content to students to read, watch, or view. So I can come in, I can see things included like images. I even have little GIFs. I have text. And as I scroll down, I have a video that's been embedded. So Kevin talked about those over 900 different tools or applications that integrate into Canvas. So these would be opportunities that the AACPS team could bring in the approved tools that were listed on that slide. So things that could be integrated right into lessons, whether that's textbook content, video materials, so that it's in one place for students to access. As I scroll up, one other item that I want to point out is this button at the top that is Immersive Reader. So you may have utilized the Immersive Reader tool in another app or tool. It's actually something that's been developed by Microsoft. But with Immersive Reader in Canvas, it's a free tool in Canvas that I can access to really have some universal accommodations. So when I open up Immersive Reader, it's going to open up that page that I was on. And the first thing that I can do is I can have the text read to me. I can also go in and I have some preferences of the text. So I can enlarge or decrease the font size. I can increase spacing. I can choose the font that's being presented, as well as the background or color theme. So for students that may have a visual need, they can change those elements. I can go into the reading area of preferences. I can choose to focus the text. I can have a picture dictionary. So if I wanted to come in and see an actual visual cue, I could. And then I can also translate the language. So you'll notice as I'm scrolling, it's quite a vast list of languages that are available. So for example, if I wanted to go down to Spanish, I could select that language as well as choose to translate just by word or document. And then once I have that language selected, I could have it read to me in Spanish. So again, that's just an example of one of those tools that makes content accessible for everyone. As a student, it's very easy and intuitive to navigate. I can simply just click the next item in my unit. And the next thing I come to is Canvas Studio. So this is one of those tools we highlighted at the beginning as an interactive video and media tool in Canvas. So with Studio, every user has their own collection of videos in their video library. So as a teacher, any videos you may have already created, you can just bring right into Studio. Or if you're accessing videos from places like YouTube or Vimeo, you can bring those links in. For any of the videos that you've created, you can automatically generate closed captions that can show up for your students, as well as be able to interact on top of the video. So you could put in things like prompts for students to think about, discussion questions, quiz questions, or even what we call just annotations. So as we start the video, you'll notice an annotation popping up first where the video is pausing. There's some text I want students to read. So for this particular video, they need to have their Google Doc science notebook. I even have it linked. I can continue to watch the video. And as I go, I have the video muted just so we're not having competing audio here. But you'll notice I have the closed captions going. At any point, I could ask a question, and it's going to pause the video and drop that question in right at the timestamp. Again, maybe it's a discussion that students are having within the video, and you'll notice that threaded discussion would happen below. So lots of options for Studio. When we get to the teacher side, we'll also talk about what kind of information or data can you get about how the videos are being watched, as well as how can students use Canvas Studio to showcase their learning. They can create videos and submit that as a way to submit an assignment in Canvas. So again, to navigate, I'm simply just going to click Next. And the next item I come to is a discussion in Canvas. So with a discussion, again, you can provide pretty much anything you can think of in that prompt at the top. So it could be pictures, it could be videos, it could be embedded content. Maybe there's a slide deck or something that you want students to watch or read before they respond. And then when they're ready to reply, they can simply open up the reply box. And I have some different options here. This text box that you see is the same text box throughout Canvas. We call this the rich content editor. So within this text box, I can type a response. I have lots of text editing tools, but I can also do things like drop in a link, add a picture, add media, or just record a video or audio file, bring in a document, or I can bring in something from one of those plugin tools that the district has approved and turned on in Canvas. And then lastly, as we think about kind of rounding out a unit of students showing their learning, we have a Canvas assignment. So somewhere that they're submitting that evidence of learning. At the top of the assignment, I see the important information like how much is it worth and when is it due? I see where I'm at in the assignment process. I can also scroll down and see the details or the directions for the assignment. So again, this could include all types of media or maybe something you're referencing from a lesson could be linked. If there is a rubric that's going to be used for the assignment as a student, I can see how that's going to be scored or graded. And then at the bottom, I have the submission types. So within Canvas, as a teacher, you can give as many or as few of these submission types as you'd like. So we'll go through and give you a preview of those. The first being a text submission. So with a text submission, as a student, I come in, I can type in this box, and you'll notice that it did auto save. So if students are typing, they have to leave and they come back, they're not going to lose their work. I can have a media recording, so I can just record audio or video, or if I already have an audio or video file, I can just drop it in. I can upload, so I can drag and drop pretty much any type of file that you can think of. And I can even just take a webcam photo. So we think of oftentimes our younger learners may just be doing something on a whiteboard or on paper that they just want to take a picture of for their assignment evidence. They can simply just take a photo. And then you have additional options like Google Drive, that Canvas Studio library, or even the Google Assignments tool. So you may have utilized Google Assignments before. This is where you can create that assignment and attach a Google document that pushes a copy to all of your students in their Google Drive account. And that works the same way in Canvas. It's a very familiar interface because Google built the integration into Canvas, so it looks and feels just like Google. So lots of flexibility as far as how students are turning in those assignments. But one other thing we wanted to point out that was highlighted in the introduction presentation is the feedback loop. So with everything that's happening with assignments, we'll look at what it looks like for a teacher to give feedback, but that feedback loop is two-way. So if students have comments, any of those threads between the teacher and student shows up within the assignment. So it makes it very easy to either type comments or have audio or video comments back and forth. So with that, we'll pause for just a moment. Anything from Kevin or from Tracy that we should address before we move on to the teacher demonstration?
Nothing from my perspective, Tracy. Unless you want to call anything out, let's keep cruising.
They're certainly pretty active in the Q&A, but again, some of the goal of that was to collect these things up so that we can send it to the whole group. So I don't think there's anything pressing that you have to stop and go back and address. We will address all of it.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's go ahead and move along and continue to put those questions in the Q&A so that we can make sure those get answered. But we're moving on to the teacher side of Canvas. So within the teacher side, the first thing that I'll point out is we are just in the same course that we were in as a student, but just opening up what it looks like through the teacher's lens. The first thing that I'll point out is you'll notice a lot of additional menu options. So I mentioned earlier being able to customize so that your environment for your students is simple and they're just accessing the things that you want them to. So I've hidden a lot of menus that I don't use in my class. I can customize what the layout looks like on that home page, and I have lots of flexibility there. As far as organizing the content, we utilize the tool in Canvas called modules. So think of modules like a folder or container of information. So as I scroll down to this Unit 1 module, this is what we were working through as a student. So I can see the information here and I can choose what is published or unpublished for my students. So what can they see or what do I have hidden from them that maybe I'm still working on or I'm not ready for them to see yet? Within modules, it's really easy to add items. I can just click this plus sign. Everything within the module is drag and drop, so I can organize those resources. And then as we think about one of those elements that was shared in the introduction presentation of collaboration and the ease of being able to copy materials and share materials. So anything within those modules, whether it's an individual item or a whole unit, or even things out of a full course, I can click copy to. I can send those items to another class that I'm teaching. So it makes it really easy to copy materials as well as send to or share them. So if there's another teacher that's teaching the same physical science class that we're collaborating, I can simply just type in their name, send resources, and then I have a little notification by my profile in Canvas. I can see that I have shared content to view. I can go in and preview the content. And if I like it, I can choose where I want that to drop into my Canvas course. So very, very easy to collaborate and just very easy to copy materials. As we think about the different types of items, one thing that has been pointed out in a couple of sessions today is the ease of accessibility tools. So making sure that the content is available and accessible for all stakeholders. So as I go into any of these content text boxes that I've talked about that you've seen, I have an accessibility icon. So with that, it's going to provide a checking of the content there against accessibility standards. So it's going to look for things like the color, the font size, do you have a label or alt text on your picture? So from this example, I had some text that I can see the issue was either too small or the color needed to change. So it actually gives me the option to change the color. So as I fix that accessibility issue, you'll notice I can't click apply until I start to get into one of those accessible color palettes. Once I do, I can see that there's no more accessibility issues detected. So again, this is available for all users within Canvas. So not only your students, your teachers, your content designers, administrators, but anybody that would be accessing the rich content editor. Another one of those important items on the list was the video content in Canvas Studio. So I mentioned from the student side that teachers can create and automatically generate closed captions. So you'll see that here. But one of the things I couldn't see from the student side are these insights. So what am I seeing about how the video is being accessed or viewed? So when I click on insights, I can see how many views, how much time, how many unique viewers do I have of the video? How many times has it been played? And then I can even drill down to specific viewers. So maybe I'm helping Jonathan with some questions that he had about the assignment, and the content really came from this video for that assignment. As I click on his completion rate, I'll notice that he skipped a section at the beginning and then he dropped off at the end of the video. Maybe that's where a lot of the content or information came from. So I might have him go back and rewatch that video. Or if I'm starting to look at patterns, I can see that as a whole class. So maybe everyone is dropping off at the same point, or they are all ending the video and really not hanging on after about 5 minutes. So it gives me information that the next time I use this video, I may want to edit and shorten it, or I may want to put some more of those engagements throughout the video, quiz questions, discussion prompts, point out there's going to be important information coming up in one of those annotations. So lots of flexibility as far as interacting on top of the video. The last thing that we wanted to point out or really show from the teacher side is feedback. So grading and feedback and that feedback loop are something that was very important to the team throughout the evaluation. So I've now opened up the grading tool in Canvas that we call Speed Grader. On the left-hand side of the screen, I see whatever my student has submitted. So for this first example, it's a document. So with a document, as a teacher, I can come in and write on top of it. I can drop a pin. I can highlight. I can annotate on top of the document. Students also have options if you want them to submit more than once. You can see that submission history, as well as if they're utilizing any type of plagiarism detection tool, I can see that score. When we looked at the assignment from the student side, I pointed out that you may want to utilize a rubric to grade. So if I do that, I can come in and actually click through that rubric. It will automatically score if I have points associated. And I can even leave specific comments throughout each of the areas of the rubric. And then lastly, I can leave overall comments on this assignment. So I have this text box at the end. So maybe I want to start typing a comment. And you'll notice as I started typing that a comment from my comment library popped up. So this is one huge time saver that really stood out to the team, is the teacher comment library. Things that you may be typing over and over. I often think about things I had in a separate Google Doc that I was copying over into my feedback. This gives you the ability to save comments or prompts that you're using in feedback, maybe those sentence starters, and have those right within your comment library. You can even toggle on for them to show those suggestions like you saw in my example. But if we want to take feedback a step further, I can do text or speech to text. So if I'm talking and giving feedback, you'll notice that it's taking that feedback, translating it to text, or transcribing it to text and auto-correcting as I go. And I can drop that right in. Or I can even take it a step further and do video feedback. So you'll see my video here. I can even choose to screen capture. So if my students have submitted their assignment or project, I could come in and be annotating and screen capturing on top of what I'm seeing or grading. But also if you're a teacher that says, I just want to talk, I don't want my video on, I can disable my camera and just have this record my audio and drop that into SpeedGrader. If you wanted to even reassign the assignment, maybe you're giving feedback and telling students you want them to try again, or maybe they missed the mark on this assignment and you want them to go back and give it another shot, you could reassign it. It will put it back on their to-do list and they can resubmit that. As I'm going to my next student, I can simply just click the arrow to my next student. I can go down the list based upon the status of the assignment if I want to, or I can go to different groups of students. So one thing we wanted to point out for your secondary students, and Kevin mentioned this briefly, but being able to, if you teach multiple classes, so whether that's multiple class periods or sections of students, that can be managed in one Canvas course. So you'll notice here, I have my physical science class, but I have my first hour, second hour, and third hour all within this class, and I could choose one of those groups of students. So as we look at a couple of other examples of types of assignments, on the left-hand side on this example, you'll see a Canvas Studio video. So this is really where I can flip that use of Studio, and students are recording themselves. In this example, conducting an experiment, but it could be something as simple for your elementary students as just, recording themselves reading or how they solved a math problem, and they could upload that. With those videos in Studio, I have all of the same grading tools across the right-hand side. So all of those same feedback options. And the same goes for if students are utilizing a Google Doc or something that you've assigned them in Google Assignments, I have those options as well. And again, reiterating what Kevin shared at the beginning, that the assignment grades that I have in Canvas will sync to PowerSchool, so you won't have to double enter those scores. So that's something that will be automated for you as a teacher. So with that, I'm going to pause my screen share from the teacher side. And lastly, we'll talk about just the brief overview of the elementary experience as well as the mobile experience. So when we think about Canvas for elementary students, think about everything we just saw being simplified and being made more visual. So when we developed our Canvas for elementary experience, our product manager for this feature actually was a former elementary teacher herself. So taking really important things into consideration, like when students log in, they're welcomed by their name, because that's often one of the first things they learn to read or write. Making sure that the font that is used for the elementary feature has a single story A and G. If you're an elementary teacher, you probably can relate to students not being able to always recognize all of the fonts as they're learning to read. And then concepts of print being taken into consideration. So as we design where buttons are, making sure that everything goes from left to right, top to bottom, so that it makes sense for students. So when students log in, they see a homeroom. In the homeroom, they have an announcement at the top. Think about this as what teachers may be putting on their board in the classroom in the morning. It could just be a video welcome message. It could be directions of what they may need to do to start the day, or what they're going to do in their centers for the day. Really anything that you may want to include. The other thing that shows up in the homeroom is my subjects. So instead of courses, we know our elementary students have the different subjects that are designated within their grade level. So all of that would show up. The next item on that ribbon at the top is the schedule. So think of this as, again, what teachers may be posting in a classroom, a daily schedule, or what activities students are going to be working on. So whether that's something in centers or independent practice, or something you're doing whole group as a class, those activities can be included on the schedule. So lots of visual and simple options for students. But knowing that everything that we've seen, whether it's Canvas for elementary or just the traditional Canvas experience, all of those things are also available in our mobile apps. So one thing to note is that Canvas does offer 3 mobile applications. The first being Canvas Student, and everything that we've seen could be done within that student app. This is an app that we encourage you to go read the ratings. It's very highly rated. It's one of the top apps in the App Store. And that's really important to us, that students have that great experience on a mobile device. For teachers, we have a specific app if you like to grade or provide feedback on the go. And then lastly, we have a Canvas parent or family app. This is something that you can choose to have available if you'd like your families to see that information in a mobile format. So we'll walk you through what that family app looks like at a high level. The first thing that I can do is I can manage all of my students in one place. So whether I have elementary, middle, high school students, all of the students can be in one app. I can choose specific notifications by individual student. So maybe for Brett, I need to enable every type of notification, but for my other student, Jen, I don't need to enable all of those options. I may just turn on a few of those different toggles or flags for announcements. I can also just toggle between my students to see any of their classes in Canvas. And what families see is really what we think of as a view-only version into Canvas. So they can see the assignment, they can see the directions, but they can't turn it in for their student. One thing they are able to do in the app is set proactive notifications. So if they want to be notified a couple of days before an assignment is due, they can set those notifications up, and they can receive them in different ways, such as the push notification that you see at the top of the screen. And then lastly, they also have the option to communicate. So I can simply tap on the communication bubble, and then automatically the name of the teacher or teachers would show up, as well as auto-filled with my student's name and the name of the project or the assignment I'm looking at in Canvas. So lots of easy ways to make sure that home and school are connected and that it's simple for all stakeholders. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to pass it back to you to talk about the additional ways that we can provide support and training, and just what's coming on our roadmap in the future with Canvas.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jamie and Tracy. Just looking at the clock, I think, we'll probably be wrapped up within the next 5 minutes. And that leaves us with like maybe 5 minutes to spare if we wanted to spend, last 5 minutes just like doing Q&A or whatever you would like. But yeah, thank you, Jamie, for such a wonderful deep dive in Canvas. What I'd like to really just spell out in these final 3 slides are what it's like to partner with Instructure. And when we say that we are going to invest our very best in you and give you full surround sound support to ensure that Canvas is adopted successfully, what does that look like? And in terms of support, so that means that you all will have, if you're on this call today and you're a staff member of Anne Arundel, you'll have access to our support line 24/7, 365. That means you can call, phone, web chat, or email and expect very fast responses from actual humans on the Instructure team. 5 minutes for phone and web, 1 hour for email. And then think of our support team not just as the people you call when you forget your email password, but our support team is also trained in the pedagogy behind Canvas and best instructional practices behind Canvas. So you can also contact our support team with more than just technical questions. In addition, everyone on this call and anyone that's a staff member at Anne Arundel County Public Schools will have access to the Training Portal Premium. And what this is our premium library of asynchronous training courses. There's multiple different pathways that you all can select. So if you want to learn about instructional design in Canvas, Canvas from a student perspective or best practices as a teacher in Canvas. You can actually navigate in your own Canvas environment all the way to the left here into the help menu and then into the training services portal from there. And that will essentially take you to bite-sized trainings that you can do on your own. It's all asynchronous and it's designed to be additional training and support beyond the training and support that our team and central office will help you with. So we've got a lot of supports, to enable the success, I think, of this launch in the short term. But I also want to talk about the long term of our potential partnership and what it means. There's some great questions in the chat about, Canvas and questions around ease of use. And I think those were some wonderful questions. But what I want to focus on now is innovation. And what does it mean for a long-term partnership to have an LMS that truly innovates and comes out with new features? I just want to talk about one of our newest features, and that's the block editor. Now, I'll actually click a video here to show you the block editor in a second. This is slated to come out January 2025, but it's basically already done. It's just in like beta testing. And what this will allow you to do, if you create content, if you create courses and pages in your Canvas courses today, the block editor will make it a whole lot easier for you to create content in Canvas. So I'm switching my screen share, and I'm now pulling open the video of this is the video sneak peek of what the block editor will look like in January of next year. So just a few months away from now. So, say you're a teacher, you want to create a page in Canvas using the block editor, you can go from scratch or from a template. If you choose from scratch, as we did in the demo, you can kind of select some different options for how you want the page to look. Do you want it to have a footer, a header, a hero image with text? Do you want to embed a Canvas quiz question or a Canvas assignment? Then you can select things like color schemes as well as font. This will all follow WCAG compliance recommendations. And then, basically, it's using AI. It basically spins up the page, and then you can edit from here, insert and adjust images and videos. If you wanted to, here's that example of we embedded a quiz in this block editor. And here what I'm doing is actually grabbing the specific quiz that I want to be included in this course. And then everything is editable. Everything can be dragged and dropped. So this is just meant to be extremely easy for you all as teachers to create and customize your students' experience as they go through your course. So, not only will your students have modules, think of modules as really like the backbone to show that linear progression of a student's learning and the activities they'll do throughout the course, but then you'll also have the ability to create more engaging learning environments with the block editor and with pages to engage students more visually. Jamie, love to give you the floor if you think there's anything I missed from a feature or functionality perspective on the block editor.
Yeah, I don't think anything that you missed as far as features. I think just reiterating what you had shared, that we continue to grow and evolve with the core product of Canvas. So something that you can always check out is our public roadmap. That's something that will always be transparent about what we're currently working on, as well as what we're working on in upcoming quarters. So you can see how Canvas will continue to grow and develop to really support the teaching and learning needs for AACPS. So just want to highlight our roadmap.
Thank you, Jamie. So whether it's in the long term and thinking about a potential partnership down the road and building a innovative LMS for you all to use, or whether it's in the short term and we think about how we're going to partner with you potentially on implementation, just know that our team really is excited to bring our very, very best to Anne Arundel and have that translate to an amazing 21st century learning experience for your students, your teachers, and yourselves. So thank you all so much for your time on this call. Tracy, I'd love to give you the floor back. I know we've got a few minutes left. Thank you for the applause, Jeremy. That honestly feels so good when people send those.
Don't you love the emojis tool? Just such a simple thing. Just makes everybody smile.
Yes.
There were definitely a couple things put in the Q&A that that I feel I can just call out and kind of alleviate some things. There were a couple of people that picked up on the fact that we kept saying potential partners and when decisions are finalized and stuff. What you have heard today is public information. You can go back and you can share this with your school. But what has literally happened is that all of this has been presented to the board and the board still gets to vote. So is the ink all dry on the page yet? No, but we're all pretty comfortable and confident moving forward. So everything that you guys have learned about can go back to your schools and you can share this information. We just want you to also remember to use things like potential and when the contracts are all signed and everything as you talk to your staff at your school about this as well. There were some questions about other applications going away. First off, not all decisions are made on day one. Whether or not the district moves away from application A and maybe brings on application B at some point in the future, because the integrations are great, not all of that has been decided yet. Is PowerSchool going away? No. We need a student information system to partner with a learning management system. They are not the same thing. So PowerSchool creates courses for us. It rosters the courses and puts our students into it. It generates the grades that go on to the report cards and so on. It is a completely separate system that will work in partnership with the LMS, but this is not coming on to replace that. When we talk about other applications, I know people asked about Discovery Education and Performance Matters, and not every decision has been made at this time. So there may be some changes, but those are decisions to be made down the line.
I
Kevin,
can't
you
speak.
trying to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think ClassLink was a tool that was brought up too, and generally
Yes.
along the lines of like PowerSchool, we generally ClassLink is something that works in tandem with an LMS, and there's even different functionality. ClassLink is your identity management SSO essentially, and Canvas. What's different about our launching of tools is you can actually launch learning tools with context from within Canvas. I'm not sure if ClassLink does that, but generally, yeah, something like ClassLink doesn't go away. While you were on that topic, and I was thinking of that question.
Yeah, thank you for calling that one out. I had kind of rolled things together and hadn't pulled that one out specifically, so thank you for that. Expectations. Believe me, we heard this, Dr. Bedell's listening and learning tour, that the expectations did not go over well for staff members. So nothing about that has been determined at this time either, but they did hear you all loud and clear that those were not well received the last time around. Plagiarism and AI detectors, that is also TBD. It's all being discussed. We know that there's a need for it, but it is also not determined. As in case you guys couldn't tell, there's just so many things that haven't been, decided yet, because you don't decide everything on day one. Somebody asked about specific folder structures and navigation and everything. I'll just use the generic term, operating system is going to be different. If you switch from platform A to B, you have to get used to the button is no longer on the right, it's on the left. So there will be navigation differences, but we are genuinely excited to embrace those differences and get acclimated to them. And then the last thing, people had asked about integrations. I think specifically one of our elementary folks asked about CKLA and whether or not that would work in Canvas and the resources and everything would be available. And I want to go a little bit broader with, just textbook integrations in general. As Kevin and Jamie said, there are a lot of integrations in Canvas. So you don't have to go outside to get to your textbook. They will be integrated in, and more than likely, we don't even have to do any of that work. It's all done on the back end between Canvas and those text providers, those resource providers. So I don't want anybody to get caught up in any idea that things are going to be difficult to navigate with things like CKLA and other curriculum resources, because those integrations are really amazing and they're going to make those processes a lot easier. Kevin, Jamie, do you want to add anything about, I don't know, pick up on any bullet point I covered there?
CK12, isn't that the one that we typically demo, Jamie? There's a good integration with CK12, or is it CKLA, or are those different?
CKLA is specifically what is now utilized in a CPS, and I think that is different than CK12. I know we have a lot of the similar acronyms, and yeah.
Okay. Apologies for that confusion then. Nothing to add from my perspective then, unless Jamie would have something.
Nope, nothing from my end either.
Okay. So we're literally down to 1 minute. I did drop the attendance link into the chat. Yes, over in the chat, the thing we said we were not going to use. There is an attendance link in there. Please make sure that you get that for session 4 so that you get marked for attendance. I know I didn't pull everything from the Q&A. I really wanted you to be able to walk away from this with some answers to the questions that I thought were most pressing. Things like, can I go back and share this information with my school? And is PowerSchool going away? But again, we will compile all of the questions from the Q&A across all 4 sessions and make all of that information available to you guys as best that we can. But, be patient. We're in the early stages of a transition. And so a lot of the answers are going to be, well, that's TBD. We'll figure that out as we get further down the line and we see what we truly need and what our teachers need and what our students need. And with that, we are at 3:10. So I want to thank Jamie and Kevin so much for jumping in, presenting. You did this 4 times today. Which one was the best session for you?
This one, big time.
I think they're just buttering us up. All right, guys, you must be exhausted. Go have a big glass of water. And for everybody else, you've got a 5-minute break before we come back for our super quick wrap up for the day. So thank you for all of the sessions that you attended. I hope you got some great things out of it. And we'll see you in the other Google Meet in a couple of minutes for our wrap up for the day. Jamie and Kevin, thanks again.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Tracy, real quick question before you hop off.
Sure.
Thanks. Is there a way for us to preview this and like test it out and kind of like they did with Brightspace where like you could join like the, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like beta group,
Yeah,
right?
so
Before it
there
rolled
will
out to
be
all
early
teachers.
adopters. Those are also TBD. Isn't that fun? Yeah, everybody's favorite answer right now, TBD. There will be early adopters who will get access early on. One of the issues that is constantly being discussed right now in terms of selecting those early adopters is trying to go school-wide. You know, we don't want a student, I work so much with secondary, so forgive me if my examples are so secondary, but we don't want a student to have one experience in first period and then go to second, third, and fourth period and have a completely different experience because first period teacher is an early adopter and piloting something that the other teachers don't have access to. So
Right.
more than likely, in order to have a cohesive experience for students, the early adopters will be an entire school that will be chosen, and possibly even
Okay.
entire feeder systems. So it might be this elementary school that feeds into this middle school that feeds into this high school will all get on the early adopter track. Those are all discussions that are taking place. So
Okay.
the reality is it's unlikely that all of the eCoaches will be the early adopters, because that would just be 100% of all of our schools doing the early adoption, or you know, cherry picking individuals at those schools, whereas they're looking to have something more cohesive for the students. So
Okay.
all things that are to be determined, but that's kind of where the discussion is right now, is just making sure that we don't create something disruptive for the kids.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
just, my brain just works really well at being able to like get all the answers and not have unknowns because it does not like unknowns. So I was like, hey, sign me up. I will do that because
That's what
I
makes
don't
you a
like
great
unknowns.
eCoach, because you're
I
like,
don't
but
know
I
that,
want all the
but
answers right now.
I do. I want all the answers.
Yeah.
But okay, no, that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'll see you in the wrap up session in just a minute.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Bye.